What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to today's video where we're going to talk about one of the biggest Achilles heels of the F-bodies, and specifically meaning the 1982 to 2002 Camaros and Firebirds. I guess I can't really speak to whether or not this pertains as much to first and second generation F-bodies. Would not apply to the fifth generation Camaros, but the factory 10-bolt rear end in these cars is a weak point. It's pretty widely known, especially with a stick car. So I'm assuming everybody that watches the channel is fairly familiar with what the ring and pinion is inside of the rear differential. Now, the F-bodies have a 7.5 inch in diameter ring gear. You can upgrade this to a Ford 9-inch rear end, which is fairly expensive, or if you shop around, you can also find the alternative GM 12-bolt rear end. So I've been doing a little bit of shopping on this, and I just so happened to find one locally that is built by Strange Engineering for the 98 to 02 F-body, so meaning Camaro and Firebird. I found it locally. It's a super good deal. It's about $1,000 less than it would cost new to have everything that's on it, and the cost of it with shipping and everything. It's a really good savings, and it's got low mileage, and it's from somebody that can be vouched for by one of my friends. Coincidentally, the friend is the guy that I bought the car from. So we're gonna hop in the truck and we're gonna go pick up this rear end. We're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on with the Silverado in the last couple weeks, and we'll be back in the garage in a little bit and check it out. So like I said, this is actually 35 minutes away from my house right now, which is crazy. It's about 2 degrees right now. Temp's going to drop on our way there. It's going to be somewhere in the mid-teens to 20s below zero tonight. With wind chill, it'll be a little bit worse. And as you can see here, winter has fully set in northern Minnesota, which kind of blows. It's only December, and you can see how much snow is piled up on these snowbanks around all over. It's been really cold out, so I actually haven't been spending much time with the Trans Am. My garage is sort of insulated, and all I have is a small heater, so it's kind of a pain to be out there in reality. I work outside all day, so when I come home, I don't really want to hang out in a cold garage, and some poor planning on my part has left me with a cold garage again. We'll go for a quick drive, check out the rear end at Rick's shop, and I guess we'll see you guys in a little while. So there you have it, guys. We have the Strange 12-bolt back in the garage, and I'll go quickly over what some of the major upgrades are going to be versus the 10-bolt that's in the car right now. Sorry, the lighting's not the best, so I'm kind of holding this light. It's pretty dark in here beyond the car, so you have to bear with me. First thing that you might notice is the axle tubes. The axle tubes are welded to the center section of this rear end, which they would not be on the 10-bolt. This is a fab rear end, so they actually made their own cast 12-bolt center section with, which is very important. Let's see if I can get you a view here. You'll notice here that the torque arm mounting bolts are cast into the rear end, so they're not welded on or added like they would be if you got a takeout 12-bolt from some sort of an older model GM car. This is actually cast for an F-body, and the axle tubes are constructed and welded specifically for an F-body. So this makes it a super good option if you want to get higher level of insurance on your vehicle, if you're going to go race your car or really beat on it with a good tire, and it being a stick car like this one is. I'll play a clip of the last time I did a burnout. This stuff makes me a little nervous with this car because it is making a little bit of power, and it's a stick, and it's got a 315 tire on the back. So how I treated it right before I parked it. So yeah, suffice to say that it's well worth the upgrade or the insurance, because I will be traveling with this and doing some more racing. The gear ratio, and this is a 391 gear ratio. It's got 33 spline strange axles. This is a 4-channel rear end, so it's going to support traction control as well as anti-lock braking, which is good. It'll be features I can keep on the car. Here you can see the reluctor that would be on each side respectively. There's one over there too, to measure wheel slip variations, I guess you could say. It also has 1/2-inch wheel studs. So having the LPW differential cover on there too is pretty slick. It's going to make drains and fills a lot easier, and it also puts some preload on the main caps to keep those from deflecting too. Another big thing about this is that it does have C-clip eliminators in it already, so I can't pitch an axle as easily without actually like twisting the end off the axle or something crazy. On these cars and other cars, there's lots of videos out there, people chucking axles, and all of a sudden they'll see a tire and a whole axle go flying out of the rear end. And luckily, we'll be able to kind of sidestep that with this one. The only other things to really note are that this rear end is specifically designed for this car, so everything's already set up. It's going to get rid of my lower control arm relocation brackets, which is what that is. It's got their own spring perches welded in. They're not taken off of a rear end and installed, which is nice. As well as the panhard rod has its factory mounting position. So it's actually going to retain all the stuff that I have on my rear end. So that's a little rundown on that. So you'll see here, I've got a pile of fluids that I'm going to be using to install this 12-volt rear end into my Firebird. This is all going to come with Strange Engineering's instruction or installation manual that came with the rear end. Here's a quick view of it. It's super nice. Everything's really clear and in color. After flipping through it, this is one of the best installation manuals I've ever seen in a product, which is great, especially when you're doing something like this. It's good to have as much information as possible. It's very clear and concise. So obviously I got some brake cleaner. This is obviously going to be for cleaning parts as I take them off of my old 10-bolt as far as brakes and brake lines and parking brake cables, things like that. As far as that goes, I'll be cleaning that stuff up for reinstallation. Strange calls for 2 quarts of 85 140 gear oil, as well as 4 ounces of limited slip additive, even if the product you use does not call for it. They're telling you to install it anyways, so I got it per their recommendation. Black RTV to seal the LPW differential cover onto the surface of the 12-volt center section. Clear RTV silicone for the preload bolts. Forgive me, I don't know exactly what to call them inside of that cover, but it's what loads the main caps on the differential carrier. A little bit of brake lube for brake parts, and some white thread sealant for the fill and drain plug on the LPW cover. So this is the basics of what you would need to do this after receiving your rear end. Other than that, it's going to be a lot of manual work as far as getting the car up in the air safely and pulling out the old rear end and installing the new one. So that's going to be a pretty big project. I'm going to take my time doing it. It'll be in another video, so I'm sorry. Kind of giving you an update. I haven't uploaded anything on the Trans Am in a little while, and I got the itch to start working on it, so don't fear. I've still got parts coming. So not only will I have a little bit of added insurance when I'm actually racing this car a little ways away from home, the gear ratio in the rear end will actually be improved too. This has the factory ring and pinion in it and the factory G80 RPO code differential. If you have an F-body, there's multiple places that this could be, and in my case, it's actually on the door. Sometimes it's on the, I feel kind of dumb, but sometimes it's in the center console on the lid. What I have here, we're going to pay attention to a couple of these RPO codes, is what they're called. You see there, GU6 and G80. G80 is a limited slip designation on, I believe, all GM products, you know, cars, trucks, everything. Could be wrong, but I think if you even look on your Silverado or Sierra truck, you'll see the same thing. I don't know that RPO code changes, but you'll also see GU6. We're going to look this up in a second, but this is going to be what gear ratio I have in the back of my car. And I think the higher it is, has something to do with the rear gear ratio being higher. So this might have an optioned 342 gear ratio in the back. At any rate, let's take a look at what the GU6 is. I'll pull up, it's probably on LS1 Tech. I'll just pull it up and we'll look at it together and we'll see what we're improving from. Well, here you go. As you can see, the G80, the second from the top, is axle, positive traction, limited slip. So there's that. I knew that off the top of my head. I wasn't sure, in all honesty. I should be a little embarrassed about it. I didn't know what the gear ratio was. It could have been a 323, I believe. But it is a 342, and I promise I didn't look and cheat before I said it. You can see GU1, GU2, 4, 5, and 6. And as I said, you can see as the number gets higher from 1 to 6, the rear axle ratio gets higher accordingly. So I suspected it had the performance rear ratio. Maybe it was an option. I forget. I don't know this stuff really well. I think back in the day, I probably would remember that stuff a little bit better, but yeah, at any rate, it's got a 342 ratio. We're going to a 391, so it's going to be a little bit better for what this car is and what I do with it. I also got a 3-inch steel drive shaft from him as well. It's in this tube here. I don't need to pull it out. It's just a steel drive shaft, nothing remarkable. Should be significantly stronger than the factory aluminum one, which is still in there. So it's going to be quite the swap and a big change. I think the rear end's about 60 pounds heavier than the 10 bolt. I'm going off of memory here. I saw that figure on LS1 Tech. Some people have weighed them separately. This one's going to be a little bit heavier, but it's going to be a lot better. As I said earlier, the ring gear inside of the car, the factory 10 bolt is 7.5 inches. That is 8.8 inches, so 1.3 inches larger in diameter. It's an overall beefier rear end. It's awesome. It's a lot cheaper than a 9-inch. I don't care what you say, that was cheaper. So until I actually make some serious power and could justify that, that's what I'm going to run for probably a long time, hopefully, and that's going to serve me really well, I hope. So anyways, guys, this is just a little bit of an update video. It's been super cold out here. Some people have asked before what I do for work, but I work outside all day, so when I get home, I don't really want to be cold for another 4 or 5 hours. It's tough to get out in the garage, so I actually haven't been doing anything out here, but I thought I'd give you an update. I have been getting more parts. The car's not going anywhere. I've had some problems with the Silverado. I thought a door lock actuator went out, but I actually, I'll show you the clip here. There's a little footage of the Silverado, what I've been doing with it. I think I've got a bad door lock actuator. Here I've got the old one out. Apparently this is fairly common that they go bad. Here's a new one. It's about 150 bucks for one in the parts store. Now I got one locally because I wasn't sure if it was actually the problem or not. I thought I might return it, but for how big of a pain in the ass is getting these in and out, I'm for sure not going to return it if it doesn't work. Looks like it's all ready to go and stab it back in the door. If you want to come out with me, I'll show you what's going on here. Never fails. You buy a halfway expensive vehicle and they fall. It's actually the latch assembly that goes in there. See the one of many rods. You got to work up in there. It's kind of a pain. So I'm gonna get the plug back on it. See if I got accessory power back to my door. I lost pretty much everything: windows, locks, mirrors, all that. This whole door panel is dead, and the lock would not actuate up or down. So hoping that's what it was. I didn't find any blown fuses or bad. There's apparently no relay for this driver's door, actually. I even checked the 25 amp fuse that's behind this little distribution panel. So every fuse on the truck checked good. I had power in here, but no lights, no features. So giving that a shot. Hopefully it does it. If it doesn't fix it. So as you'll see, darkness has fallen upon the project. And what I found was that we have a broken butt splice that was already patched inside of that little door hose. I got it all apart, and I just so happened to see the end of that butt splice. If I can show you a little better. Right there, broken off. So that's a main D12 feed for this plug, I believe. It's a black main power plug for this whole switch assembly. And I'm wondering if that's got something to do with the problem. If at any rate, there is a broken splice that I did find. And the failure happened all at once. The door was just dead, so I'm really hoping that's it. I'm going to temporarily put this together and see if I can get the lock to work or actuate, and we'll go from there. Well, there you have it. Got the door panel all cleaned up again. We've got power. everything's good to go. I did read in one thread that people had experienced broken wires in here before, so I decided to check. It was kind of my last resort, and sure enough, I did find a broken main beach bell feed, which actually killed the entire switch panel as well as the lock actuator in here. So it looks like it's good to go, and I finally got a chance to clean that door panel, which I was really wanting to do. So overall, it sucks. It was a new truck, but I'm glad I got it fixed. So I got the door panel working and everything. We had a broken butt splice. I also did a front brake job on it, which actually showed me that I need rear brakes on it. So that's been a never-ending problem, but I still like the truck, so hopefully not too much more to do on it. Anyways, guys, hope you liked today's video. Definitely come back. The next video we're going to do is going to be installing the 12-bolt rear end into this Trans Am behind me, and I'm going to do that all in one shot, so it's going to be kind of a how-to video. I did make a community post a little while ago. If you're on Instagram, check out GreenLightFilming for more kind of behind-the-scenes stuff and more content. I'll be posting on there more frequently now. If you have one, just say you're from YouTube. I'll definitely give you a follow back. I guess that's going to about do it for today's video, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.